Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back again to the Mylo Mansion podcast. For the people that are watching on YouTube, we're in a little bit different of a setup this time, as we're doing it through Zoom with Lucas, Music by Lucas. He's over in the US, so
Yes.
that's why I'm sitting here by myself, very lonely on the couch.
All alone in the mansion.
But what's up? Thank you for joining. How are you?
Yeah.
How's life?
Everything is amazing. It's been such a crazy year so far. I had one word for this year, which was transformative. I think this year is a really transformative year because, we're post-COVID to a good amount. People are starting to really get things moving again and not having that in the back of your mind. And I think a lot of people are feeling, ready to try new things. And that's definitely what we're doing because we're getting ready to launch our record label. And we've been just working on a ton of stuff. We've been traveling a lot. We've been mostly in Europe. We had our event at ADE, which was our first event we ever did at ADE last year in October. And we're planning our next one. So
amazing.
We've been busy with a lot of new things.
Nice. So the record label, how are you guys going to call it, or is that still under the wraps?
Everything is still under the wraps. It's a good question. It will probably just be Team MBL. I think Team MBL will just shift into, and if people don't know, Team MBL, Team Music by Lucas, is something that we started back in 2016 when I was working at a bank and was frustrated with life, the way that it was going, and really wanted to do something in music. I had always dreamed about, doing something in music. So we started building an online community and we started posting videos on YouTube. And when I say we, me and my partner, Lauren, who's like my filmmaker, editor, director, you've met her before.
Yeah, definitely.
Emilio, so and that's kind of how you and I ended up coming across and meeting each other is through the traveling, because we, back then we got to a point where we were building the community, we had the YouTube growing and everything, and we just decided to sell everything. We sold our house in LA. I quit my job. I quit university before graduating, and we just were like, we're hitting the road, we're getting out there, and we're gonna go, meet up and collab with people like you and Mesto and Mike Williams, and just people that we thought were just inspiring individuals who our community also really liked, and started doing, content. And that developed into, years later, everyone demanding for years, like, hey, you guys got to do a label. Like, that's like the biggest question everyone's had for years.
I mean, it really makes sense though, right? With all the guys that you guys are helping out, and like, teaching all the stuff and like coaching them with their careers, really makes sense to be also able to help them to put their music out, basically, right?
Yeah, and now there's obviously an extreme amount of pressure to make sure that it's cool, right? You don't want to just launch a label after all these years and just have it just be, nothing special, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot of ideas in mind on how we're going to make it unique. It's definitely not going to be a traditional label in a sense, but we also are catering to a ton of different genres and audiences, right? So we don't want to necessarily have it be just for one type of artist or something like that. We want everyone to feel like they can be involved. And of course, since it's Team MBL and we're all about collaboration, it's going to be a very collaborative label where we have everyone working together and being able to, bring smaller artists and bigger artists into the same room, whether it's virtually or in person, to create music.
Amazing. That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, I feel especially now with like all the technology that's out there, as a label, it's become, it always was, but even now it's become a lot more than just being the distributor, but like, because everyone can get their music on Spotify and on all the platforms. So yeah, I think especially now it's like so important to offer more than just putting the music out there. And like,
I think a lot of artists don't think about that though, right? They're just thinking like, oh, I just want to get signed, but they forget that, there's so much more to the label than just being a glorified distributor. It's like
exactly
the point that you said. Yeah, because it's like what, I don't think many people ask this, but it's like, what does the label do for you in a way? Like, what does it do for you that you can't do for yourself? Besides maybe just being able to say, oh, I've been signed by that label.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people think that they're just going to get signed and then they're going to have their own Just a Mylo mansion.
Yeah, but also like in like, I feel like when you either get like approached by a label or you get into talks with a label, and like you really at some point really start like negotiating about a deal and like about terms and whatever, I mean, at least that's for me how it felt. Like you go in there like almost like super humbled that you've been approached by a label and that you're in talks together, that you almost don't realize that like, you know, you're going to into business with someone and it's not, it's a two-way street basically. Like you're offering them something, which is the music, your name, your career, whatever you've built up, and they have to bring something to the table in return. And I think that's maybe what a lot of people forget. Like they're already super excited just by the fact that you are getting signed, but don't really think about, you know, what is the label gonna do for you, and like.
Yeah, so I'll leak a little bit here. Why not? We're here on the Mylo Manage, but we're gonna do something very unique, which is instead of really signing tracks, our goal is to really bring artists together. So we're more interested in finding the artists who are doing something unique, whether that's through social media, through their music that they've already released, a combination of both. And we want to basically sign them to create a track. So we're not signing a track, we're signing them to create a track, but we're also signing quite a few others to create a track, vocalists, musicians, guitarists, producers, etc. And then we're bringing them together, like I said, either virtually or in person, and then they're creating the tracks together, and we're documenting the entire process. So we're creating that marketing from the get-go, because you know that we're all about music marketing and trying to find a way to tell the story, because how important that is. But it kind of reminds me of, like, if anyone remembers this, that kind of like Making of the Band MTV kind of show where they bring people together, have them create a band, and they document the whole thing and the struggles and the, you know, the processes and how the songs came about, that moment of inspiration, etc. And then we're gonna have all this content, but also create these relationships, but also be able to make have these artists who are bigger and smaller and vocalists and these other people come together to create and make something special.
That's such an interesting concept. Like actually being there before the product is created, basically, before the track is made. Yeah, that's interesting. Cool.
Yeah. Very, very exciting.
Yeah,
so, yeah, that's a little bit about what it's going to be.
Nice.
And maybe you can get more out of me on that. But yeah, that's what I got for you for now.
Amazing. Sounds cool. Cool, let's jump. I have like a couple subjects here.
Ooh.
I haven't seen any of them, so blank slate.
Nice.
Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Well, we did this naturally, so we can skip that one. Introductions. Music and marketing. Is music still the most important thing for an artist, or marketing?
It's a really good point. I think the music is still the most important thing because you're marketing your music, right? You are marketing yourself, but you are also marketing. At the end of the day, your goal is to have the music be the thing that people, that people know about.
Yeah.
If music's your love, you don't want to just be known for something else and people are like, well, I never really heard your music, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think nowadays that's also like an interesting thing because, I mean, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this, but there are artists out there that are more like known for their character instead of for their music.
And it's interesting to know if that, it depends on the artist, right? So some of them, they may enjoy that, and some of them, they may find that as almost like a curse in a way, like they wish more people knew about their music. So I think it's a mix, right?
Yeah.
Like you do, because I actually think most artists are in the case where they don't really have the personality edge. Like people don't really know anything about them. We're coming from years of, I mean, you know how this is. You go to someone's Instagram as an artist, and it's just a bunch of pictures of them kind of looking like they're a model or doing Zoolander faces. Like you don't really know anything about them.
No.
So almost I'm like thinking like, the biggest thing is to try to get people to know more about you, because that's what makes them feel connected to you. Because they come to your Instagram, and you've probably seen this too, but like there's artists who have very good music, and you go to their Instagram and they don't really have a following.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason for that is because of what you just said, which is like, is the personality there? Do they know anything about you? But I think there's kind of like, there's different opinions on this. Some people think like that, this is the reason why social media is poison, and why, it should just be all about the music, and, you have to do these gimmicks and stuff like that. And I don't really see it like that, because there's different ways to look at it. I feel like if you want it to be poison, if you want to just do what everyone else is doing and copy a gimmick and all that stuff, sure, it's going to be frustrating, especially
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
So the answer is like, how can you find something that you enjoy, right? That you
True.
can do and about yourself that's natural,
Yeah.
that you can show to people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel also with myself, like, I think we've all been there with like the whole Reels and TikTok revolution that happened over COVID. You know, trying to like, you know, rethink how to express yourself on social media and like how to get out there again. And like, also for myself, like, I was like sort of struggling a bit, and still maybe I'm a little bit like how to handle the whole, you know, TikTok thing, because I'm one of those guys, like I don't want to do like any gimmicky thing, or just it's just not me, it's just not my personality. I just don't enjoy doing that. But then I realized like whatever I'm just gonna put out there, whatever I feel like I want to put out there, and just keep it close to myself.
Right.
Instead of
otherwise you don't post.
No, exactly.
I mean, like if you don't like it, maybe you'll try it and like force yourself into it for a little
Yeah,
while.
exactly.
You're never gonna be consistent doing that.
No.
And if you are, you're not really going to be enjoying it
No.
so much, right? And I think you're 100% right. It's like we had to rethink everything, because like it's like it's a totally different format to have to focus on being more open. But even you just doing this podcast, that's being super open.
Yeah.
Just like saying that you have struggled with that in the past, or just explain these things as a way that like the people that watch these videos are going to feel super connected to you in a way that they didn't before, maybe when they just heard your music. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's what I always had in the past. Sometimes, like, whenever you're making music or you're performing, like, at least for me, I really like, one of my goals is to really try to tell something with the music that I make, and like the shows that I do and whatever. And sometimes with like these interviews that you do, like when you release a song, it's like it's pretty straightforward. It's like the usual questions, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like a nice little write-up of your song, which is always cool to get supported. But sometimes you just want to dive in a little bit deeper, and actually talk about things. And that's like one of the foremost reasons I felt like doing a podcast in general. So yeah, it's really, really fun to be able to do that, actually.
Yeah, it's the same thing with music that it is with social media. So I think that's another thing that's interesting, is people are like, they think that they're so different, but they're the same in a way, because if you want to stand out with your music, you got to be unique. If you want to stand on social media, you got to be unique. So that's why it doesn't make sense when people say, oh, you just got to do these mimicky trends if you want to grow, and that's the only way you can grow. And it's like, not really, because otherwise you're going to be like someone in music who just follows the genre trend every single time. You're not really going to have a loyal kind of standout fan base. You're not making your own sound. You're not creating your own kind of group of community, etc., that is there for that vibe that you're putting out. So that's I think the interesting thing, and the thing that I love is that all these years of studying marketing and social media and all the stuff that we've been doing in this area, we've realized that there is by far no one way to succeed at social media. I think a lot of artists think, oh, you got to do producer tips.
Yeah.
There are way more artists who don't do producer tips that are also succeeding. There's grandmas that have videos that have huge followings. There's cat accounts. Just endless. So it has to do with what your hobbies and your interests are, and bringing that out in a way, and also kind of tying in that music. If you can bring those two things together, I think that's the magic. But honestly, the overthinking, it's like, just try things and throw things out there.
Yeah.
And see what you enjoy, because you're not going to know what you enjoy. Just like with music, it just goes back to that. It's like, you're not going to know if people are like, what genre should I make? Make them all the ones you're inspired to make. And
exactly.
Figure out what you love, and then
Yeah, for sure. I mean, trial and error, I think, is still the way. Honestly, like, I'm proud of every song I put out. That's the first and foremost thing. But obviously there are some songs which was just like sort of an experiment for me, that maybe didn't exactly work out the way that I wanted it to be or that I hoped it to be. but still, I've learned from it, and it was a journey, and at least I put it out there, and just tried it out. And like, if you never,
I don't know any of those songs from you. I know every song is good. So
well, thank
all your
you.
songs are sick. I'm sure everyone in the comments would agree. There's no bad Justin Mylo songs.
Thank you very much. Cool. Let's dive into another one.
Let's do it.
Oh, that's interesting. Music industry, United States versus Europe. Differences or developments.
This is really interesting because I think that one of the biggest things that made Team MBL a success was that we focused all of our attention on the European fan base. Because I was from Los Angeles at the time when I was working at the bank and stuff like that, and a lot of people aspire to get to LA in order to make it in music. Like,
Yeah.
Big thing, kind of like Amsterdam. It's like people want to move there, right?
Yeah.
'Cause they're like, that's where I need to make the connections and stuff. But I grew up there and I was never succeeding. So I was looking around like, I really enjoyed electronic music, and I realized like, hey, the European market is where the electronic music is at. But the other thing that I really liked about the European market is that it's more of a, it sounds weird to say it because it's not in a way, but it's more of a smaller community. Like when you go to ADE, for example, Amsterdam Dance Event, it's like everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, it's like seeing family. And also like word gets around really fast. So like everyone starts to know who you are. People are talking kind of a thing. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, I don't know if you feel that way too, but it's like, U.S. almost seems like this huge open ocean of, all kind, and also it's very like hip hop related.
Yeah.
I know that in Europe hip hop is popular as well, but it just feels like in the U.S. specifically that hip hop dominates everything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel maybe in the US it's also more like a more spread out thing or something. I don't know. It's like
For sure.
in Europe it feels like it's almost like a small village, almost like, like even sometimes in bad ways, like gossip and rumors and like all those things, like word spreads around, and like it's interesting as well. But I feel like
Burn any bridges.
yeah. In the US, like whenever, like I play in Vegas a lot, like, and I mean I've done shows in New York and like some other places. Every place I go, it's completely different, even though it's the same country, which is it's very interesting.
Yeah, and the crowd, for example, at a U.S. show, like if you're talking about Vegas, could just be a bunch of people that are just there to have fun. They have no idea who the person playing is.
No.
They're not starstruck or whatever. Whereas
Exactly.
you go to Europe, and I feel like there's just like a lot of producers in the audience just staring and
Yeah.
just like feeling every moment of the transition.
Yeah, for sure.
Production. Yeah, it's so yeah. Another thing to point out is that I think a lot of is to kind of like get rid of that myth that you have to live in a certain location to succeed as a music artist, because I understand like a lot of people DM me and stuff and they live in like a small town in a country or an area where their style of music isn't popular.
Yeah.
What I really want to push people to do and is to just push themselves out there online, and that's another reason why I feel like social media is so powerful, because you can access people from all over the world. That's how Team MBL grew. Like I wasn't in Europe, I was in LA, but we grew this big European audience through YouTube and through the online platforms. And then when we went to Europe, it was we already had the established people there. So yeah, I think that's the power of it, and just go where your fans might be, wherever that is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's crazy, like how, I don't know how that like how there's like so much possibilities, like in such a short time, like maybe in like 10 years time, a whole different set of possibilities opened up. And like, who knows what could happen in the next 10 years. It's insane. But also like, I feel like, I don't know how that feels for you, but like I've been in LA a couple times for like writing sessions, and I've had like meetings with labels and stuff. But it's also, I don't know, and that could just be me, just because it's like I'm in a foreign country and it was all very new for me at the time. But I feel like maybe in Europe it felt, and I mean we said this already, but it felt a little bit more like personal, maybe a bit more like smaller scale.
there's a famous vibe in LA, and I grew up in it, so it doesn't. It's not like I'm used to it, but
Yeah, yeah,
there's a bit of almost like a fakeness. But
yeah.
I'm just gonna say it, like it's not meant to necessarily be rude. It's just like it's like everyone you make eye contact smiles at each other. It's just cultural.
Yeah,
The way that people speak to each other. But yeah, it's you'll go to like a Starbucks or something, and you'll just people might be rude to you. It's possible in comparison to something else, but it's just I don't know. I didn't notice it as much until I traveled.
yeah, yeah.
So, and when I go home, I just kind of like if I go back to SC, I still kind of call it home. But if I go back there, even though I haven't lived there in years, I'll kind of slip back into it. But there is a difference where I kind of notice it more, I guess. But I agree with you. There's like it doesn't feel exactly the same. But also when I'm in LA, I don't really want to work. There's like a relaxed vibe there.
Yeah,
Like,
it
you
is.
got
It's
the
so
trees,
chill.
you got the beach.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, it's super chill. It's like, yeah.
Honestly, I prefer it more to chill than to work. If I'm honest, it's more of like a.
Yeah.
I like to go there, like I don't know, in between Vegas shows and like just relax, hang by the beach, drive around, walk around. It's like that's more the LA vibe for me instead of work.
I'm never sad going there. It's always a good time.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you do have to have a little bit of a budget when you go there too,
True.
because you do have to have like transportation, and it's expensive to stay there and stuff.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
But I guess you could say if you do it right, it is a really good time.
Yeah, definitely. Did you go to Miami this year?
I did not go to Miami this year. Did you?
No. First year I had
Yeah, I
FOMO.
know, right? Yeah. It's been. I remember we've had some good times there.
Yeah, yeah, for
Great
sure.
time always. Yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime.
You guys just felt like we're just gonna pass on this year, or
We've been doing actually a bunch of interesting new projects. So, for example, Lauren's working on a lot of documentary films.
Oh,
and
nice.
We started a new branch of our company called Team MBL Media, where we're actually working with brands, helping them manage their socials and build their own communities. Because that's like a thing that we've been able to do so well,
Yeah,
especially with music producers. Like, I think a lot of companies and brands, they hire media companies to manage their socials, but they're
Yeah.
not specifically music producer like professionals.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah,
hiring,
yeah.
like a media company that maybe also works with a brand that sells medical products and airline tickets and stuff like this, and they don't necessarily know who the target audience they're marketing to.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we've been working with quite a few really inspiring brands on that side. So we've been flying out to like different events with doing stuff with them. Like we're going to NAMM in LA. We're doing a bunch
Nice.
of stuff with different companies over there. That's going to be in like a week. So we're flying out. Speaking
Sick.
of LA, flying out to LA in a week and
Nice.
get to go to Disneyland again. So
Wait, just so I'm right, that's like the tech convention, right?
it is, yeah. So it's all the companies who make plugins or
Yeah,
make,
exactly.
audio gear. It's going to be drool worthy gear. Right?
Oof, I'm jealous.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good
Sick.
time.
Curious to see actually if there are any like new developments, releases, whatever.
I'm sure they're going to be talking a lot about AI. It's on everyone's minds right now, so I'm sure
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
gonna be interesting. Yeah.
I mean, what's your thought on AI?
I'm really excited. So I have been kind of like just into, I think, well, I won't say always, because when I first heard the ideas about like metaverse and everything else going on, and that's obviously a little bit different than music production AI. But when I first heard, the different things that were coming forward, and especially during COVID when people were doing like, kind of like metaverse, Fortnite, like DJ festivals and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
At first I was like, I don't know if I think this sounds fun. Partially because of the fact that I think that there was this fear of the unknown, because it took us a while to establish what we've been able to establish on, the platforms we've been able to do it on, and then all of a sudden you're hearing that everything's going to change. And I think that's what scares a lot of people in general, even
Yeah.
with their music, is they're thinking like, everyone's going to be able to produce like this. And I told someone the other day, because they were like, now, they commented something like, now anyone's going to be able to just press one button and make a hit track and be famous overnight. And I was like thinking, and I sat there and I was like, if anyone can press that one button, then everyone will press that one button. Then there still is competition.
Yeah.
It's not like there's one person that all of a sudden gets access to that no one else has access
No,
to.
no, for sure.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's gonna be it's once I realized that it's something that, like, once I got over the idea of like the fear of the unknown, I think I started to think about all the possibilities. And I think that's been the big game changer, is like thinking about all the things that could happen and how exciting that could be. And now I'm really hyped for seeing AI as a tool for music,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
not as like taking over.
No, exactly. Like,
I'm sure people in the comments have their own opinions.
I mean, for sure, I feel like I don't know if it's gonna be like the tool to like actually create a track like from scratch, but like I feel like especially for like really like technical stuff like mixing and like mastering and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's like small things out there already, like Isotope has like a sort of like AI-ish built-in thing, but like I think that's really where like big possibilities are, or like, you know, trying to get like a direction for a song, or like, you know, maybe like have like a sort of a generator AI thing that could like maybe, you know, try just like a small loop, you know, just to get inspired basically.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a totally different example of how I think AI would just change my life personally for the better, which would be for when I travel, I have to take, you probably are used to this too. You have to take a bunch of gear with you. Like
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
to take you obviously have your computer, but like I have a lot more than that. You know, I have this podcast mic because I do a lot of podcasts on the road. I have
yeah,
my interface and little speakers that I bring, and just all this stuff. And in my mind, if they could create something kind of like, where I can just put, on my sunglasses or goggles or whatever, they already kind of have this.
yeah,
But if they can make it way better, where it will project my giant monitor anywhere I want it to be, it'll have the keyboard, right in front of me, and I just have to put headphones on, and my DAW's up there, all my stuff. Because like it is, I have a little laptop, and I miss, like right now I'm talking to you. I actually do have a big monitor right now. I miss this when I'm
yeah,
out in the
yeah,
US.
yeah,
And to have to bring a giant monitor like this, like yeah, they sell those monitors where they like pull out and they go on top
yeah,
of your laptop, but
yeah,
it's another thing to have to bring.
yeah, exactly,
Even so, it's like that would be cool from that side, just
for
to make
sure.
it fun to be able to produce from anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that sounds very interesting actually, to being able to like also like anywhere have like a
Single
full
monitor.
resolution monitor, and like I don't know, even being able to like maybe use your hands to actually go in a project, or like,
Yeah,
you know,
move
slide
around.
stuff around,
Yeah,
move stuff
exactly.
around. Yeah, that sounds sick actually.
It'd be so fun. Like at the first, DAW that comes up with that, I'll be like, yeah, I'm just gonna use that.
Yeah.
Like I'm switching over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
What are you using now actually? Logic,
I
right?
use Logic Pro. Yeah, I've been
Nice.
using that forever. What's funny is there was a point before I was a signed artist that I was trying to figure out like what's the secret, and of course I didn't like just think to myself like, well, it's the actual production, but I thought like what's the secret, and my thought was, well, maybe it's the DAW, because I'm seeing, this is way back in the day, but I'm seeing
Yeah, yeah.
videos of like Martin Garrix and people like that showing their YouTube videos with them on FL Studio. And so I'm like, okay, it must be FL Studio. Like, that's gotta be the
Yeah,
secret.
yeah.
That's the DAW that makes it sound like this. And so I remember I partitioned my Mac, which means like I made part of the hard drive Windows and part of it Mac, and I put FL Studio on it and went through the whole process. And then I just quickly realized, no, it's me. No, it's not the DAW. It's
Yeah.
not the DAW.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Logic later. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, it was like I was a super big fan of Hardwell at the time, like when I started out, and I just felt like, okay, well, he's working in Logic, so I have to work in Logic. That was
It's
honestly
funny how
just,
that, yeah, it's funny how that works, and that's what is so powerful about YouTube and these other platforms, is people are just looking for answers, but also people are just looking for community and to be able to be heard, and I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's why you don't really have to overthink it. Like when we first started Team MBL, back when we had like no real followers or subscribers, basically we launched this Song of the Week contest where every week I would tell people, hey, send me your music, and I'll select one song every week to say that it's my song of the week, and I'll put it on our SoundCloud, and we had a really small SoundCloud, and I'll put it on our socials, And we at one point had 400 to 600 submissions a week for this when we only had a
Wow.
few thousand followers. Yeah. And so I'm sitting there in between my bank job listening to all these demos. And when people would get selected, they would like freak out to the point that we had to switch it from song of the week to a top 10 because we wanted to like help more, like give more shine to more people.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I realize is people don't necessarily care if you have this huge following. A lot of people just want to be heard. They just
Yeah.
want recognition. They just want someone to give them feedback. Like the most basic thing.
I mean, that's also, I think, and it's hard for people. I mean, you can do that now online, obviously, but for me, it's like one of the most important parts in making my music. I have one of my really good friends that I literally send every idea that I make. I send it to him. It's so important, and that's maybe something when I started out, and I think that's what everyone has when they start out. They sort of have like a fear of working together. Like you feel like, oh, if I have someone else help me out, it's you almost you feel like you're cheating basically.
Right.
and
And that's of course even amplified when you're talking about AI. So it's like that whole thing of, and I've dealt with that a lot with our business with Team MBL, because there was a point back in the day when we were first starting that I did everything. I mean, I didn't film it. Lauren filmed it, so that's always been like an extreme blessing to have.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know a lot of artists don't. But doing all the stuff because we have this website, if people don't know, teammbl.com, where we have mastering and we have graphics and we have just everything artists could need. We have it on there. And of course, our academy where we teach you how to do all this stuff. But like how to grow and reach your goals as a music artist. But there was a point where I was doing all that stuff. I was doing the logos that people ordered. I was doing the mastering. I was doing, and there was also a point where I was too nervous to hire anyone on to help me. But that was the game changer.
Yeah,
and now
for sure.
I'm like obsessed with, trying to get help when I can. Like it's so exciting to, like I'm a good graphic designer. Like a lot of the graphics that you see on our website and stuff like that, I did. But there was a certain point where I was like, there's other people that specialize in this. So
Yeah, exactly.
Better. And and sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you work with someone who maybe you don't work with for very long, and you switch to another person. Especially, but the thing is, like, it's just like with anything else. It's like with friends. It's like with dating. Like you're not going to be best friends with everybody.
No.
You're not going to be in a long-term relationship with everybody. So you gotta swipe right and swipe left sometimes.
Sums up life. No, but also like exactly what you're saying, like I don't know, it boosts the creativity to like be with people and bounce off each other, and instead of just sitting in your room by yourself trying to do everything just by yourself.
Yeah, you get inspiration.
Exactly.
People are like, whoa, you're doing that. Now I feel like I could do this.
Exactly. And I mean, I also do want to point out that like maybe it's not, I think careful is maybe the wrong word, but also there's balance with everything. But maybe also like when you do work with people, also don't forget about like your own feeling. I mean, sometimes, because I've been at points where like I made a song and I thought this actually won't stop. I made the song and I was so hyped about it, and I sent it over to the team and to the guys, and I was like, oh dude, I've made the craziest song, and everyone was like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this one. And then like literally 2 weeks after, we had a meeting with Universal, and the one song they liked out of all of them was that song. And all the other songs they didn't like. So that was really,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
You can't control other people's opinions. It's true. Yeah.
In the end, always do listen to your gut feeling.
I'm sure everyone knows how it is when you are in the moment of hype on a song and you're so excited about it, and you send it off to someone and they have different opinions.
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that your own opinion is wrong.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. 100%.
It's interesting.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
It is an interesting point. That's the thing, is we work in a creative, I feel like we try to think logically about something creative.
Yeah.
Like we work in a creative industry, and you can't logic and creativity don't always intersect.
No.
And you know it's a great point. We can't necessarily confine it to the rules. There's no rules in music.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't make any sense, which can also be frustrating for sure.
For sure.
We've been there.
Yes, and also sometimes you go back and listen to your first tracks or tracks you did months ago, and you're like, well, that wasn't very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So opinions change, things
Yeah,
change,
for
you
sure.
develop, you evolve.
For sure. I mean, that's where all the fun is, I would say.
It is. It's true, and that's how you figure out your sound too, because you don't know the things that you put into every track. That's your sound. It's the things that you put into every track, and that's the thing that no one else can necessarily mimic like you can. Is those elements? I mean, you always can hear, even if Kashmir does a different genre, you could hear it. You can
Yeah.
be like, oh, that sounds like him.
Yeah.
I mean? Because there's like certain elements that are always there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the key of trying to achieve, how hard it may seem, but yeah, I think that's the essence of what you want to achieve as a music producer.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
What's exciting you on the horizon? What are you hyped for like the rest of this year? And also like you've been making music for so long, and I'm just curious what inspires you for the future. Do you still have that like music bug that like gets you back into the studio all the time? Is it the same? Has it changed?
Honestly, I'm still like, I mean, obviously it has changed, and like sometimes it gets more of like a job, but honestly still, whenever I create something that I'm super excited about, I'm just like an excited kid that wants to, get back behind the laptop and, just keep working on it and keep messing around. So it's still just like the fun of doing things, and I'm just still enjoying it so much, that's the first and foremost drive for me, is to just enjoy myself doing things and just having a good time, basically.
I love that. That's the best. That's what matters at the end of the day, regardless
Exactly.
of everything else.
Exactly. Man, I want to thank you so much for your time. This was fun. This was inspiring.
It was super fun. Yeah, I had a great time with you as well, and we got to hang out again soon.
For sure.
Definitely, we'll be in Amsterdam for ADE as always.
Sounds like a plan.
So yeah, exactly. So we'll stay in touch, and excited for this to come out. Excited to be part of season 2.
Let's go. Thank you so much, brother. Let's go. I'll see you soon.
Yes, absolutely, and say thank you to your manager too, and I'll talk to you.
I will. Cool, brother. Thank you.